You're watching BionicDance. Don't run on automatic, instead, please think.
So let's discuss the problem of evil. But wait a moment, aren't I a godless atheist heathen? Since when is evil a problem? Let's do this.
Hello everyone, David here for Pious Fabrications as always, and in this video we'll be continuing our discussion of the problem of evil, and we'll be looking to another answer of the problem of evil, and one that is perhaps one that most people think steps outside, or most of the adherents of this position think that it steps outside of the problem of evil, that they too don't face the problem of evil, and that is atheism.
Now, I will freely admit that I have not watched your other videos in this Problem of Evil series. I'm an atheist, this is the part I care about. Now, given your arguments in this video, I'm not 100% certain you understand the problem of evil. But on the off chance that you do, let me describe it again for other people watching this vid, because it ain't just you and me. The problem of evil is the notion that if there is an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving God, then if there's evil in this world, it continues to exist with that God's permission. So that kind of negates the notion of the all-loving part and the all-powerful part and the all-knowing part. I'm sorry, but either your God allows evil to happen, or your God isn't as powerful as you think, or your God doesn't exist. You gotta pick one of those if evil exists.
Many atheists will bring up the problem of evil as if it were a sort of proof against the existence of not just an all-powerful and all-good God, but of any God at all.
Well, I hope I just made it clear that I, at least, am not saying that. No, I don't believe in a deity, and yes, that non-belief comes from a complete lack of evidence. But I can certainly point to the problem of evil and say that the way the Abrahamic God is being described is logically inconsistent, that it just simply doesn't hold up under casual scrutiny.
But I think that, on the contrary, atheism is perhaps one of the worst answers to the problem of evil. Atheism, in trying to escape from the problem of evil, in fact, heaps even more of the problem of evil upon itself.
And statements like this are why I suspect you don't actually understand the problem of evil. Because there is nothing in atheism that says, we're all knowing, we're all loving, we're all powerful, therefore evil should not exist. Atheism doesn't have anything like that. As far as I know, only the Abrahamic religions have statements like that. So, I'm not certain that we're talking about the same thing when we say the problem of evil.
And here's why I say that. Essentially, from the atheist perspective, one cannot say that there is such a thing as evil. For instance, there's certainly no natural evil within the atheist framework. There certainly cannot be moral evil, because really everything that a human being does is a natural event. Hitler was a natural event, just as Mother Teresa was a natural event. They were simply fulfilling biological function.
And you know, actually, I'm undecided on this one. I mean, I suspect that you're correct, that humans and other animals, we are just biological machines carrying out a kind of organic program. I suspect that consciousness and free will may well be illusions because of how complicated our biological programming is. But I also freely admit that I don't know for certain, that I could easily be wrong about that. I just don't know how and don't have any evidence to say that I'm wrong. So right now I'm going with what I suspect is true until other evidence comes along to contradict it, because the evidence I do have points to the conclusion I've reached, the tentative conclusion I've reached. Now, I suspect you're also right in that As an atheist, I don't think good or evil, as you seem to describe them, exist at all. I really don't. I do believe that morality and whether something is good or bad are pure opinion, that they are points of view. You bring up people like Hitler or Mother Teresa, and don't get me started on her. Look up Christopher Hitchens and his critique of her sometime. But I suspect that Hitler looked at what he was doing as the greatest good. I think he suspected that. I think that was his position. He didn't realize he was evil. He thought he was doing the best thing ever. I happen to disagree with them, and so did a lot of the civilized world. That's what World War II was all about. Hitler, you're doing the wrong thing. So, yeah, good and evil are matters of perspective as far as I'm concerned. But what does this have to do with the problem of evil? The problem of evil is about good, loving, all-knowing, all-powerful God not wiping away evil. So, no, we have not heaped more evil upon ourselves because we're non-believers, because we're atheists, because we think that morality is subjective. No, we haven't.
There's nothing in addition to these material events. There is, simply what is, and that is material.
And? No, really, and? I mean, okay, it's true. We might end up doing something that we consider horrible, that someone else considers horrible. Or we might end up doing something that seems noble and self-sacrificing, or at least that helps other people out. And it may well turn out that we're not going to be rewarded or punished. It may well be that we do what we do, and that's that. And it may be that when we die, we don't get judged, that we may just be dead. The universe is an unfair place. And I realize, I can understand wanting to say, no, it's not. That even if while you're alive no one gets to watch you get punished, I can understand you saying, even if that's the case, when you die, you will be judged. And then you will be rewarded or punished based on whether you were good or bad. I can understand wanting to say that. But prove it. Show me that it's true. Seriously, show me that it's true. If you can't show me that it's true, if you cannot prove to me that there's a heaven and a hell, that there's a God or a devil that looks at how you behave during your life, if you cannot show me that that's the case, then why should I believe you? I mean, I can understand wanting that. I can understand thinking, no, if people are bad, then somehow they have to be punished for it. But that just may not be the case.
And so, to say that there is good and evil within this worldview is a bit silly. In addition to that, we also have the problem of no transcendent morality at all, no foundation, no objective basis upon which to call something good or evil. At best, in this worldview, good can mean that which I like, versus evil, which is that which I don't like.
Incidentally, you're one of the few theists I know who will actually describe my position and then argue against it. Most of the ones I know will either misrepresent my position rather badly, or they will talk about my position, but they'll do it in a very snarky, snotty kind of way. You're not doing that, and for that, I thank you. And that's why I'm trying to have a discussion instead of doing ponage, instead of making you look like a dipshit. So, again, thank you. Now, while we're talking about this, though, morality. Yes, I think morality is indeed subjective. I do think that morality is an emotion, and it's a matter of perspective. Everyone has their own individual morality. Now, granted, we tend to be raised in a culture that teaches us about morality. A lot of our morality does seem to come from the society in which we live. And if you look at other cultures, their morality has a tendency to be at least a little bit different from ours. And within those cultures, you'll find individuals who either believe in one set of morals rather more than someone else in the same culture, that there is variation for every individual person. So how can morality be anything but subjective? I certainly cannot point to an objective morality, something that exists outside of someone's perspective, something that would exist even if every living, thinking being were to die off right now. You could not point to where morality would come from without minds to make it up, without people to have perspectives. So I may be wrong about what you're trying to imply, but it seems to me you're trying to say that morality is or should be objective, and, well, I'm going to have to ask you to prove it if that is indeed what you're saying, because, frankly, I don't see how that's even possible.
And ultimately that means that in order to be honest with ourselves and true to this view of the world, we have to say that Hitler and what he did is not objectively wrong, is not objectively evil. The universe is indifferent to this, thing that happened within it. This is simply the movement of, of biological organisms within this greater whole.
Correct. And? Seriously, and? I mean, what makes it objectively wrong? If I look at what Hitler did and I say, wow, that was bad, that was double plus on good, I find that immoral. Well, what if someone else says, no, it was perfectly reasonable and wonderful? Which one of us is right? How do you show it? How do you prove it? If it was objective, there should be something you can point to that doesn't amount to an opinion or a perspective. And I've had people try to tell me, well, God disagrees with it. But then they try to say somehow that that's not God's opinion, not God's perspective, that anything God says is objective and not subjective. And then when you try to point out that that's not the case, they try to redefine objective on you. So, I gotta ask, how can morality be objective? How can it? How can it be anything but perspective? I have never gotten a satisfactory answer to that. I've gotten hemming and hawing and dodging around. No one's ever given me just a straight up, this is how morality is objective answer. Ever.
But being rational creatures, of course, we very commonly overcome that drive to propagate. This is why we have birth control and abortion and even celibacy. The human animals having overcome its instinctual drive for propagation. So an atheist who would want to argue that a basis for morality could come from a concern for the species, in order to be consistent, would have to also have a disdain for things like birth control, again, abortion, celibacy, and so on.
Now here is a case where I actually think that your argument is unfair. That whether you mean to be or not, you're reducing, oversimplifying the atheist position. There is more nuance to it than that, and I'm sure you're aware of it, because there's certainly more nuance to your own position, I'm willing to bet. And what it comes down to is that, yes, we have concern for the species, but we also have concern for the individual, for our peer group, for our family, for our friends, all of that. And everyone has a subjective perspective. We see things through our own eyes. Either we don't have the same information as other people, or we just have different preferences, we feel different ways about things. Morality is not a computer program. Morality is, in and of itself, an emotion, as far as I'm concerned. So, while I hear what you're saying, I don't think it actually addresses the issue. For what you're saying to be true, we'd all have to be emotionless androids that are all the same. Just saying.
Good and evil must change definitions significantly, and again, I think that ultimately all that good and evil can really mean in this worldview is what I have preference for and what I don't.
Well, can you give me a reason why that's not the case, that doesn't essentially amount to the fact that you don't like it that way? Because I've never heard one.
well, I would say that this worldview, when viewed in the perspective of the problem of evil, is perhaps just as terrifying as the Calvinist in the Islamic worldview that we looked at earlier.
Hey look, a kitty! Anyway, here's the thing. The problem of evil is not about whether or not it's terrifying. The problem of evil is about whether or not it's inconsistent. Logically, a God that is all-loving, all-knowing, and all-powerful should have wiped out evil. Because if you have the knowledge and the power to find evil, and you're all-loving so you want to get rid of it, then why does it still exist? That is what the problem of evil is. It has nothing to do with whether or not you are personally terrified. It's about logic.
Now, in addition to not being able to distinguish good from evil in any meaningful way within the atheist worldview, there's also the additional problem, and I think this is what makes it even more terrifying, perhaps even more terrifying than the Calvinist worldview in this regard, is that there's no meaning to human suffering whatsoever.
Oh, horse shit. I mean, come on. We have empathy. We have compassion. We know what it feels like to suffer. Other people know what it feels like to suffer. Some of us are driven to do what we consider good, to help others, simply because of those reasons. Empathy, compassion, enlightened self-interest. We do this. And sure, it doesn't have any kind of cosmic significance, but how many of us span the cosmos? Why is it necessary? Why do you desperately need to have this kind of significance? Seriously. I mean, okay, granted, I can understand why that might be scary to you. I can understand why you might think, I am an insignificant speck in this universe, and what I say or do does not have any kind of significance. I don't matter. But you do. Of course you matter. You matter to your friends, to your family, to yourself. What more do you need?
There's no justice for it in the end. There's no recompense of any kind. There simply is this suffering.
Okay, that's scary. What makes it untrue?
And I find that just a completely untenable worldview, one that should make the stomach of any person who believes in good and believes in justice and believes in truth and beauty and these concepts should upset their stomach at a minimum.
Yes, but I ask again, why does your discomfort, your terror, your unpleasant feeling at this notion have anything to do with whether or not it's true? Seriously, can you point to a reason why it's false, other than the fact that you don't like it?
And so I think that atheism is perhaps the worst of the answers to the problem of evil.
Which is why, like I said multiple times in this video, I don't think you understand the problem of evil. Because it's about the logical inconsistency of an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful deity that allows evil to continue to exist. That's the problem of evil. And with atheism, there is no God. That inconsistency is null and void if there's no deity. Thus, the problem of evil is negated. Now, you may say, but evil is a problem, and how do we stop evil from happening? That's a separate issue. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think. Please take the time to rate this video. And hey, if you dig what I do, subscribe. And please visit my Zazzle store, where you'll find all kinds of BionicDance merchandise. Help control the religious population. Have your theist spayed or neutered.